Have you ever noticed that your dog acts in a completely different way with you, but not with other people in the house? Maybe he follows you into every room, waits by the door when you leave, always sleeps by your side, or simply stares at you as if he's trying to understand your every move. And the most curious thing is that, many times, he ignores other people around him, even when they give him affection, food, or attention too. So a question arises that puzzles millions of dog owners around the world. Do dogs really choose a favorite person? Or are we humans just imagining things out of emotional attachment? Because if you stop to think about it, there are canine behaviors that seem to go far beyond simple instinct. Some dogs are completely transformed when a specific person comes home. Others show anxiety when that person leaves, become restless, walk through the entire house looking for them, or simply lie down near the door waiting for their return. And perhaps the most impressive thing is that this doesn't happen the same way with everyone in the family. Have you ever been through this? Have you ever felt that your dog created a different connection with you? Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover may surprise you deeply. For a long time, many people believed that dogs only approached whoever gave them food or showed them affection. But the science of canine behavior began to discover something much more complex happening inside the dog's brain. Recent studies on the emotional psychology of dogs show that they create extremely deep, effective bonds with human beings, and in some cases, this emotional attachment can be so strong that it completely alters the way the dog reacts, feels, and behaves on a daily basis. And perhaps that is exactly why some dogs follow only one person throughout the entire house, even when there is no apparent reason. Perhaps that is why certain dogs always choose to sleep next to the same person, or why some show an absolutely overwhelming level of happiness when a specific person comes home, while their reaction to other people is far smaller. The most impressive thing is that many of these signs go unnoticed by most owners because they seem like normal behaviors. But when you understand what is really happening emotionally inside the dog, everything starts to make sense. The truth is that dogs have an emotional capacity far more advanced than most people imagine. They observe patterns, associate sensations, recognize emotional safety, and create deep connections with people who make them feel protected. And this completely changes the way we look at canine behavior. Because maybe your dog is not just enjoying your presence. Maybe he has created such a strong emotional bond with you that his brain has come to see you as the most important figure in the environment. And there is an even more curious detail in all of this. The dog's favorite person is not always the one who spends the most time with him. It is not always the one who gives him food. It is not always the one who plays with him the most. In many cases, dogs choose someone for emotional reasons that are almost invisible, things that few people can perceive on a daily basis. The tone of voice, the energy transmitted, the feeling of safety, the emotional calm, all of this can directly influence the way a dog builds attachment. But then another, even more fascinating question arises. How exactly do dogs choose this favorite person? Are there clear signs that reveal this? And could it be that some apparently simple behaviors are hiding an emotional connection much deeper than we imagine? Because what science has begun to discover about dogs' feelings is completely changing the way we understand the relationship between humans and dogs. And perhaps while you are watching this video, you are already starting to remember small behaviors of your dog that previously seemed ordinary, but that are now beginning to take on a completely different meaning. Maybe that way he has a following you around the house, lying near the door when you leave, or looking directly into your eyes for several seconds is not just a random habit. Maybe there is a much deeper emotional connection happening there silently every single day, without you having realized it until now. And I truly want to know one thing. Do you feel that you are your dog's favorite person? If this subject resonates with you, leave a comment below with the strangest, most exciting, or most curious behavior your dog does only with you. Because one of the most impressive things about these videos is realizing how thousands of people live through very similar experiences without ever having talked about it before. And when you share your story, other people start to see their own dogs in a completely new way too. By the way, while you are commenting, go ahead and hit the like button on this video right now. Because if this content made you notice something new about your dog, that simple gesture helps YouTube show this video to more people who truly love their dogs and want to better understand what they feel. It may seem small, but it makes an enormous difference. Many times, a video like this helps owners notice emotional signals they had been unknowingly ignoring for years, and in the end, more dogs end up living with more understanding, more emotional connection, and even less anxiety at home. So show your support for this video and be part of this with us. And if you love understanding canine behavior, the emotional psychology of dogs, and all those hidden signals that dogs show every day, subscribe to the channel right now. Because the idea here is not just to talk about dogs, it is to learn to see what they are really trying to communicate emotionally. There are many things that dogs feel and silently express, but that almost no one notices. And the more you understand this, the stronger the bond becomes between you and the animal that literally trusts you with its life. Your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more people with this kind of content. And honestly, whoever starts to understand the real feelings of a dog never looks at them the same way again. Because once you realize the level of emotional connection they are capable of creating with humans, some apparently simple behaviors start to carry a completely different meaning. And there is a specific behavior that researchers have begun to observe in dogs that are extremely attached to their owners, something that may explain exactly why some dogs choose one special person within the household, while others build more balanced bonds with everyone. The emotional bond that almost no one notices. The most impressive thing in all of this is that a dog's brain does not operate solely on the logic of survival, as many people still believe. There is a real emotional construction happening silently, inside it every single day. And one of the greatest revelations of canine science in recent years involves precisely a substance called oxytocin, known as the attachment hormone. Yes, the same emotional mechanism linked to the connection between human mothers and babies also appears in the relationship between dogs and people. When a dog feels safe near someone, his brain begins to associate that presence with protection, comfort, and emotional stability. That is why some dogs simply relax when they are near their favorite person. The gaze changes, the breathing changes, the behavior changes. It is not just affection, it is real emotional bonding. And now I want to show you something that completely changes the way of looking at this. Many dogs build emotional memory based on the way they feel near someone, not just on the rewards they receive. Perhaps that is exactly why some dogs enter into emotional distress when a person disappears from their routine. Because for the canine, brain emotional connection also means safety. And when that safety disappears, the emotional impact can be far greater than it seems. The signs that reveal who the dog has chosen. And this is where the most fascinating part of this emotional journey begins. Because when a dog builds a truly strong bond with someone, he starts to show small signs that seem simple, but hide a very deep emotional truth. Maybe your dog follows you around the house for no apparent reason. Maybe he chooses to lie down in exactly the same space where you are, even when there are other comfortable spots available. And the most curious thing is that many owners live with this every single day without realizing the real impact of these behaviors. Now think about this. When your dog is frightened, anxious, or insecure, who does he look for first? Does your dog do this? Does he look at you more than at other people? Because one of the greatest signs of emotional attachment is precisely this silent search for safety. Some dogs bring toys specifically to their favorite person. Others calm down just by hearing that person's voice. And there is an almost invisible detail in all of this. The dog usually reacts far more intensely when that person comes home. This is not just habit. Many times it is emotional connection built over time through routine, decisions, and daily emotional presence. Now I want to show you something that completely changes the way of looking at this. Some of these behaviors may reveal a level of attachment far greater than most people imagine. Comment below, "My dog does this." The hidden truth behind the favorite person. And perhaps the most surprising revelation of all is this. The dog does not always choose as his favorite person the one who gives the most food. This completely breaks the mindset that many people had about canine behavior, because emotional bonding does not work solely on the logic of reward. In fact, many dogs end up building a much stronger connection with whoever transmits emotional safety on a daily basis. Sometimes it is the person who speaks more calmly, who respects the dog's space, who plays in a gentle way, who creates a predictable routine, and above all, someone who makes the dog feel emotionally safe. It sounds simple, but the impact of this inside the canine brain is enormous. Some dogs begin to associate certain people with tranquility, protection, and emotional comfort, almost like a silent, safe harbor within the home itself. And there is something even more curious in all of this. In many cases, the dog chooses precisely the person who feeds him the least. Yes, because the construction of this bond happens through emotional experiences repeated over time. The tone of voice, the energy transmitted, the daily decisions, and even small, almost invisible behaviors can completely change this connection. Now I want to show you something that totally changes the way of looking at this emotional attachment, because some dogs develop such an intense bond with a single person that they begin to suffer emotionally when that person disappears from their routine. Right below, this changed my perspective. When missing someone becomes emotional suffering, and it is exactly here that many people begin to realize an emotional truth that is difficult to ignore, because some dogs build such intense attachment to their favorite person that their absence creates a real emotional impact within them. It is not drama. It is not human exaggeration. The science of animal behavior has already observed clear signs of separation anxiety in dogs that are extremely attached to their owners. Maybe you have already seen this without realizing it. Dogs that become restless when the person picks up the keys, that start pacing around the house nonstop, that whine, scratch at doors, destroy objects, or simply fall into a state of apathy when left alone. And the heaviest part of understanding all of this is realizing one thing: the dog does not know that you will be back in a few hours. For many of them, your absence feels like a temporary emotional break in the safety they have built within their routine. Now think about the impact of this. The dog's brain associates that person with protection, stability, and emotional comfort. When that presence disappears, some dogs enter a state of genuine stress, and this completely changes the way of looking at certain behaviors that previously seemed like just neediness or excessive attachment. But now I want to show you something even more important, because there is an enormous difference between building a strong emotional bond and creating an emotional dependency that makes the dog suffer silently every single day. Comment below, I had never thought about this, the true meaning of being the favorite person. And perhaps the greatest shift in mindset here is understanding that the goal should never just be making the dog like you more, because a healthy emotional bond goes far beyond that. What truly strengthens this connection are small behaviors that create emotional safety without generating excessive dependency. And many times, it is precisely the simplest details that produce the greatest impact on this silent journey between human and dog. Calm walks, gentle play, quiet eye contact, and a balanced routine help the dog build emotional confidence in a healthy way. It may seem like a small thing, but for the canine brain, predictability means safety. And when the dog feels he is in an emotionally stable environment, he begins to truly relax. Now, I want to show you something that completely changes the way of looking at this. Dogs do not need constant attention in order to love someone deeply. In fact, teaching healthy independence is also part of a strong bond. Allowing the dog to have moments alone, encouraging exploration of the environment, and avoiding turning goodbyes into exaggerated emotional events helps reduce anxiety and creates a far more balanced connection. Because in the end, the favorite person is not just the one the dog follows most around the house. It is the one who makes him feel safe enough to simply exist in peace. And perhaps that is the most beautiful hidden truth of all. For a dog, the favorite person is not just someone in the house. They are literally the place where he feels safest in the world. And after all of this, maybe you will never be able to look at some of your dog's behaviors the same way again. Because when you understand that many of these signs hide emotional attachment, safety, and genuine connection, the relationship stops feeling like mere coexistence and begins to take on a much deeper meaning. And honestly, if you love your dog and want to understand what he really feels, this channel was made for you. Here, you will discover signals that most people ignore every single day. Each video is a new way of strengthening the bond with someone who trusts you completely. And when you start to understand the emotional mind of a dog, even the small details of everyday life begin to carry a different weight. If this resonates with you, subscribe right now, because whoever truly understands their dog never looks at them the same way again. Now I really want to hear from you. Does your dog show any of these signs? Does he follow you around the house, sleep near you, or act differently when you leave? Tell me in the comments, because every dog builds connections in a unique way. And when you share your experience, other people also begin to notice behaviors that previously went unnoticed. In fact, if you made it this far, write in the comments, "This connection is real." I love reading these stories because many of the upcoming videos actually come to life from the experiences you all share here. And if this video made you notice something new about your dog, hit the like button right now. This helps YouTube understand that this kind of content needs to reach more people who truly love their dogs and want to better understand what they feel. It may seem simple, but sometimes a single video helps someone notice important emotional signals that had previously been ignored. And in the end, more dogs end up living with more understanding, more emotional safety, and much healthier bonds. And there is a video right here on the side that perfectly complements this subject. Click on it and keep watching with me over there, because the more you understand your dog's feelings, the more incredible this connection begins to become.